Hello everyone, Lily here. Welcome to my channel, and for those returning viewers, welcome back. And today, on March 31st, 2023, as I'm looking out the window right in front of me and it is snowing again, I thought I would do a video regarding my Lenormand decks. As you've seen in my past videos, I've been trying to cull and get rid of some decks, and today I thought, well, it's time to look at my Lenormand decks and decide if any are leaving. Now, the one that I have here, I do not intend to get rid of because this is a Carrie Paris Lenormand deck, and it's actually a free deck that you can get on her website, where you print out the sheets and you make cards out of them. So the thing is this is my version that I printed on 13 by 17 cardstock, if I remember correctly, and I had them printed, and then I embellished them myself by using napkins and Mod Podge on the back. And these napkins actually have a Paris theme, which I think is appropriate. Like we have the word Paris here and the Eiffel Tower. So this is one deck that I'm keeping for sure. And for people, you know what? This is one of the things I like to use, is I go to the dollar store and find these containers to store some of my decks. Obviously, not all decks fit, but some surprisingly do. So they're pretty practical. So the next deck I'm going to look at is the Mlle Lenormand Cartomancy deck, and it's the one that's published by Piatnik. These are the backs. And these are pretty traditional. They have, the symbol is pretty easy to find. And we have the carton set. And that's one of the things that I'm thinking about today as I'm looking at my decks, is if they have the carton set, because it's one thing that I now use when I do Lenormand readings. Sometimes the card adds a nuance to the reading that's sometimes not there just by using the symbol. This one I'm actually keeping, because if I'm going to reach for a Lenormand deck, very often it's this one. Because I don't know. This was the first deck. Actually, this is the first copy of the Piatnik deck that I have. Got damaged by having a drink spilled over it, so I did get another one. But the thing is this deck is actually pretty affordable. I'm not sure how much it is now, but when I was buying it, it was under $10. And it's one of the reasons why I did pick this deck, because of the price. I didn't know if the Lenormand system would be something I liked, and I didn't want to invest too much into it. So again, this is the Mlle Lenormand Piatnik deck. The next deck we're going to look at is the Mlle Lenormand. So these are the backs. And I like this deck, again, because it's got the insert, but also for the simplicity of the image. And one thing that this deck does have is Ryan Edwards. I think that's his name. Yeah, Ryan Edwards actually went and added extra cards. So these are all extra cards that he added to add meanings to the cards, so that like the example he uses, if you're going to use the gift card as a surprise or creativity in art, well, he says, you know, now you can replace the rows to replace the art component of it. So and this is a little booklet that comes with it. Next on my list is the Prince Lenormand deck. This deck was created by Ethany from, well, Ethany Dawn, from who has a YouTube channel here. And these are the backs. And here's where I'm looking at it. And I have to say the images are you know, pretty cute. And here's the cards for, so basically if we look at it like this, the man and woman cards for same-sex partners. And this is what I think. So the thing is she did put which card it corresponded on, but she only put like the number and the suit, which to me doesn't provide enough information. Like, I need a picture, because if anyone reads playing cards, when it comes to the numbered suit, depending on the configuration of the cards, the symbol on the card, you can find meaning to it. So I think this deck is going to go in my go-to pile. The next deck I'm going to talk about is The House of Shadows by Monica Burdinsky. And she's the one that did, I actually have another Lenormand deck that I'm going to look at afterwards. And this creator is the one that created the Shadowlands Tarot. And she did come out with a oracle deck not that long ago, which I don't have, and the name escapes me right now. I'm not sure if she has a Lenormand mass market deck though, but anyway. This was self-published by her. So here are the backs. And here's another thing. Again, like this one doesn't even have the card symbol on it. Which is, well, I don't know. I think the art is kind of cute. A little bit dark, but whimsical. Kind of like the Shadowlands Tarot, basically, except this one is in black and white. Yeah. I think that's gonna go in the go away pile. Here's one that I have that I bought on Etsy. Like, this is in a Peggy Pepe's little pouch. And this one, I don't remember the name. And I don't have a little card that goes with it. But it might be called the Silhouette Lenormand, because it's basically just a silhouette. And let's compare to a regular Lenormand. Like, these are really small. So the thing is I use this deck when I'm gonna do a grand tableau, because it doesn't take a lot of room. And kind of like the maybe Lenormand deck, even though, although, you know, the symbols here are even more simple. They're easy, you know, like you don't have to think too much about what the symbol means. They're pretty self-evident. You don't have to guess if, you know, the star or, you know, the cloud is really the sun, like some cards that are heavily illustrated, you know, can be. So I'll see if I can look up the name for this one and put it in the description down below. And here's the other deck by Monika Bordersky called the Lucky Lenormand. And actually this was a limited edition. It's I got copy 99. And these are the backs, like on the box. At the time I bought this deck, actually this might have been my first indie Lenormand deck that I bought at a conference. I like the art, but like I said before, the card numbers and the suit is only printed on the page, on the card, and it doesn't suit my style of reading anymore. But I do like the art, so I'm a little bit torn. Although, if I'm honest, because the card and set is not there. And do I have enough initiative to actually draw the card on it? No. I don't like modifying decks, especially if they're indie decks, just because my opinion is that they lose value. Like, I won't even edge my decks for that reason, because if I decide to resell them, personally, I will not buy someone else's, you know, modified deck. So I don't see why I should do it unless I decide that, you know, no longer has a monetary value. So this is the Lucky Lenormand. So this one is called the Zingdoodle Lenormand by the creator named Root Weaver. I don't know if she's still around. And one of the reasons I got this is because I liked the art at the time. You know, but again, you know, what's happening here is it's just the card number and the symbol for the playing card set. And now that I think about it, you know, I understand why she put her name and everything on it, but although, you know what, if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't remember what the deck is called. So, but anyway. And that is the Zingdoodle Lenormand. Here's another deck that I have by Root Weaver. And it's called the Retro Lenormand. And again, at the time I bought it, you know, this reminds me of the art, well, mid-century art, 1950s, maybe early 60s. And here she did the same thing. You know, added a card for same-sex couples. And you know, the thing about this art too is it's really easy to tell the symbol. So this is the Retro Lenormand by Root Weaver. So here's the Lenormand. I think this is called the Blue Owl, and when they spell the owl, because I think this was like a German copy that I bought. So does it say? No, I think it wasn't spelled O-W-L. I think it was spelled like A-U-L-E. But anyway, but this is another deck that at the time I bought it about the same time, or maybe a little bit later after the Piatnik deck. People were talking, you know, when they were talking about first decks, this was one of them. It's very traditional. It's got the card inset. And since I'm using the Piatnik deck, I don't know if I really need this one, or if I should keep this one. Maybe I'll do a side-by-side and to help me decide. Because I like the image on this one too, and they're pretty easy to determine, even though they're a little bit more illustrated than some of the decks that I've put up. And this is another deck by Carrie Paris. This one I received when I participated, or when I was a conference attendant at a conference here that we had in Kingston, Ontario. Carrie Paris was one of the presenters, and as part of everybody's door prize, we got a copy of this deck. I think it's called the Siren Lenormand. It did not come with a box, but I like this one because it does have the card inset, even though it's not as big as the other cards that I've shown. But this is what I'm looking for, really, when I'm looking for a Lenormand deck. I may be mistaken, but I think she is coming out with a mass market version of this deck. And here's another, another example of using, for same-sex couples. So I'll see if I can find the link to if there's any news on this, but anyway, it's a little bit weird with all these tentacles coming out of, where you wouldn't see them, but you know what, it's still easy to see what you're looking at, and I think it's kind of fun, and I like the coloring, so this one is a keeper. So let me recap what I'm thinking of getting rid of. The Lucky Lenormand, the House of Shadows, the Prince Lenormand Oracle, Root Weavers, Zingdoodle, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If I don't, and maybe the Blue Owl Lenormand, but this one I'll reserve for now. But you know what? Actually, out of all these decks, so that means I'm left with the Siren Lenormand, the Mlle Lenormand, the Piatnik, my silhouette one, and my homemade deck. So actually, I think I did pretty good today. I wish it was always this easy. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if there are some decks that you would have kept or I didn't, or vice versa. So I'd appreciate to, I'd love to hear what your feedback on that. So until next time, have a good day, everyone.